So, we are.
Good evening, everyone. February 10th school board meeting will now come to order. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, I move to add the additional budget reports, facilities, use, applications, and enrollment figures.
Okay. Motion?
So moved. Second.
Moving properly second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Next we have public announcements. February is School Board Appreciation Month. February the 10th through the 14th, Middlesex County Public Schools observes Virginia Kindness Week. February the 11th, joint board meeting work session at 4 o'clock at the historical courthouse. February the 17th through the 21st, Middlesex County Public Schools observes School Board Clerk Week and Appreciation Week. February the 19th, MHS Career Day from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. February the 20th, interim report sent home. February the 24th, school board budget hearing. Okay, yes. So school board budget public hearing at 6:30 at St. Clair Walker. And March the 10th, regular school board meeting here at St. Clair Walker at 6:30. Okay? Next, we have recognitions.
And I do have recognitions. I will ask Dr. Bishop to join me at the podium as we handle those. Next slide.
It is that time again for Navigator of the Quarter. The second quarter was devoted to our strategic objective for deeper learning. And so just like we've done in the past, we shared our nomination forms with staff, students, families, and the community to nominate staff members. In this evening, we will present to you the members who were nominated for quarter two. We have 4 teachers, and we have 6 support staff. Dr. Bishop is going to help me with both, and then it ends in here. All right, so first we want to recognize actually 2 people at one time. We have Travis Smeltzer and Nicole Smeltzer. Travis works in our operations department and maintenance, and Nicole also is in operations, and she works in the transportation department. So please come down. And when we call you down, if you'll stay down here, I think I may have already said this, so that we can get a picture of the entire group. Next, we have Angela Bosher. Angela is one of our 5th grade teachers at Middlesex Elementary School. So Angela, if you will please come down. Next, we recognize Angela Johnson, and she is one of our mathematics teachers at Middlesex High School. We also want to recognize Mary Lorenzino. She was a real trooper and jumped in this year. She has been the PTO president at Middlesex Elementary, but this year, Since the beginning of the school year, she has been a long-term substitute in the 5th grade classroom. And Mary, please join us. Next, we invite down Gina Putney. Gina is our teacher at Compass Academy. We invite Connie Bray to join us down here. Connie is one of our nurses. She is actually our lead nurse, and she works here at St. Clair Walker. Next, we invite Tiffany Hedke to join us. Tiffany works at the elementary school as a student support specialist, or otherwise sometimes known as school counselor, and it looks like Tiffany might not be here. So we'll make sure she gets her certificate and her pin. We also invite Lowry Van Buskirk, or more affectionately known at the elementary school as VB. Lowry is our 3-5 mathematics coach at MES. And last but not least, we invite Trish Wood, who is our English as a second language teacher. She is a division support person and works in all 3 of our schools. And it looks like Trish might not be here this evening also, so we will make sure she gets her certificate. And so those are our navigators of the quarter for quarter 2. We congratulate you and we thank you. But that does not conclude our recognitions. So I think, as was already mentioned, February is School Board Appreciation Month, and the foundation of student success is year-long leadership and advocacy and support from our school board. We are proud of our division, and our School Board Appreciation Month is time to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of our elected trustees. In Middlesex County Public Schools, school board members must develop policies and make tough decisions on complex educational and social issues impacting the entire community. They bear responsibility for an annual budget of $23 million, over 1,200 students, 225 employees, 4 buildings, plus a central office. Too often, we neglect to recognize the dedication and hard work of these men and women who represent us, so thank you all for all that you do. As was also mentioned in public announcements, next week is School Board Clerk Week, and I'd like to recognize 2 people who, on top of their other daily responsibilities, which are many, that are in their regular positions within the school division, they have an added responsibility to be the school board clerk, and that is Kim Bagby. And Deputy Clerk Karen Murray. Thank you both for everything you do in all of your capacities. And last but not least, we want to thank our student representative this year, Ms. Anna Crown, who is a senior at Middlesex High School. Anna, we thank you for your attendance, your participation, and your engagement in our board. And that's the recognitions I have for this evening.
Next, we'll have education highlights, St. Clair Walker.
Good evening. We are excited to have Mrs. Hunter here with us tonight. She is our career and life readiness teacher, which she is new to us here at St. Clair Walker this year. We're very excited because we know that the career and life readiness class is so very important. We have lots of skills that students need to learn. And Ms. Hunter has really brought some new hands-on experiences this year. So she has 2 7th graders with her tonight. There was supposed to be a third, but unfortunately we had one who could not attend. But I will turn it over to her so she can explain a little bit about a recent project that these students completed.
Thank you, Dr. Sanders, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity to come in and spotlight some of the stuff we're doing in the classroom. In examining careers, we do it through hands-on projects in our classroom, and for this project, we looked at what it was like to work in an advertising agency. And so students made products, a sugar scrub, a lip balm, and a chapstick by grade. And then they were tasked with designing a marketing campaign for the products, including branding a logo, also making a slogan, and determining a USP, or unique selling proposition. Here is Lily Birch and Aria Randall to explain their marketing campaigns.
So, my mom is a nurse. She works long hours and is always running around doing things for us, my family, anybody who needs help, and doesn't have a lot of time for herself. So I created this Live in That Scrub Life to just help her and help other nurses and moms or anyone else who just needs a little self-care. It's cheap. We have a $2.99 if you only want one, but we also have a BOGO sale where you buy one, get one free. It's pineapple scented. It will leave you feeling smooth and less achy if you are on your feet a lot, which my mom, I know she does. She walks around and runs around the hospital a lot. So I feel like this would be really helpful for her and anyone else, any nurses, anybody in general who would like to use this.
Good job.
So this is my project. I come from a very pale family. And during summer we do not tan, we burn. So I made this scrub and it is brown tinted and it is scented like pineapple. So just like, I don't know, during the day you would use it and it would leave you smooth and hydrated from the coconut oil. And it only has a couple of simple ingredients, and it would leave you, a little tan because it's tinted brown. It's around 3 for $4.99, and it only has, like 4 ingredients, and it's all natural. And I think it's good because, like I said, I come from a very, very pale family. But so, like anyone who again just burns, doesn't tan, I feel like this would be really useful because like it's not drying, it has coconut oil in it, so after you wash it off, it already leaves like a fresh, almost like lotion like residue on like wherever you use it. But yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. As you can see, there's quite a process behind all of this because not only do they have to come up with the marketing piece, but when they actually made the products, they got to see how to follow directions and everything that goes behind selling a product. It's not so much just, here's what I want, but the process of how you have to market and brand your product so that people actually want to use it. So we're very thankful. Mrs. Hunter has been providing these life experiences for our students.
Next, we have public comment.
Dawn Moore of Urbana. Thank you.
Public comment now closed. Board member committee reports.
I have no report tonight.
I actually have one. We met at Bridging Communities last Thursday to discuss the upcoming budget. And as it sits right now, we're going from 173,000 to 187,000. And that's gonna up the total enrollment to 220 students. And that's gonna allocate 34 seats where we used to have 34. Come April 10th is when we will be voting on this budget.
I had a regional special ed meeting last week before, and everything is running smoothly. They were just still waiting on numbers from the governor for getting everything locked in for next year.
Okay. Anna?
Well, this month, since last month has been slow, this month has been a little bit more busy. All juniors and seniors took the ASVAB, which is now graduation requirement, and some students did extremely well. And then on Saturday, we had our winter pool, and Miss Stout, the choir and CTE teacher, made it really amazing. And then more specifically, one of the classrooms that I'm in, the transitional class, which is made by the classroom, had a formal lunch, where we sat all the students down and they all ate, and Miss Reed taught them how to use napkins, and then Mr. Lane and Mr. Stan helped serve the food for the students. And then a couple weeks ago was Principal Appreciation Week, and so I just wanted to give a special highlight to Mrs. Clee, because she works really hard. And then lastly, our senior night for all women will be on Thursday around 6:30, so please do make sure.
How was the dance?
It was good. I went for about 10 minutes. I think they were.
All right. All right, action items, school calendar.
School calendar, so last month I shared with you the first draft of the calendar, and so that we had a survey that had gone out. Within your packet this evening, I bring you a final version. Two changes to that calendar. The first was that we did move spring break back to the week of March 30 to April 3rd, and that's so that we are aligned to the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School, the Bridging Communities, and the JROTC program, which we serve students to in King and Queen County. The second change is, and this came as feedback from the survey, is that we added a second parent-teacher conference evening into the calendar, and so Thursday, February 2nd, it's a full day of school, but conferences will go from 4 to 7 p.m. on that day. And then the next day, which will be Friday the 13th, and this is at 2026, that changed from an early release for students to an early release for all students and staff on that day because of the late evening the night before. So those are the two changes. Our administrative council has seen it. Our superintendent's advisory committee has seen it. It is a 177-day calendar, just like this year, and I bring it to you, this final draft, for approval this evening.
Any board members have any comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
Under inclement weather makeup days, I noticed we're not going to school tomorrow. So, you say that we would add them at some point in the calendar.
Potentially. So we operate on schools can operate on a 180-day calendar or a 990 instructional hour calendar, and we are operating on a 990 instructional hour calendar. So we are meeting those needs for the instructional hours. We will likely, I think on a work day we've looked at in March, we'll have to have some virtual learning time for high school students to meet seat hours, but right now technically we are still within that window of meeting the hours that are required by the state.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. My question.
That was your question.
That was mine.
Brilliant minds, right?
Okay, any other questions on the calendar? All right, can I have a motion?
I move we approve this final version of the calendar.
Second.
Moving properly second, question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. Next we have is the budget calendar update.
Yes, and so we've got an update to that also. This calendar was approved in November, and it was updated to reflect a change in the time for the joint board work session on February 11th. Our published calendar that was approved on November 11th has that time at 4:30. We have moved that to a 4 p.m. start time. Again, that is tomorrow, and the work session will be held in the boardroom of the historic courthouse. So that, the place, even though that was not in the calendar, that is a change from what you all had on your schedules. Actually, on the budget calendar that's in your handbook here for approval, it notes a joint work session for the MHS renovation committee that was also scheduled for tomorrow. That has been deleted and will be rescheduled at a later date, so that does need to be removed from the calendar that is in your packet,
Okay.
in the budget calendar.
All right.
And so that does need approval,
Okay,
the changes to the budget calendar.
all right,
I move to change the specific dates as mentioned.
okay. Have a second?
Second.
Moving properly second, and question? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. All right, next we have more information items. Dr. Bishop?
All right, CTE month is this month, February, so we're celebrating that. We have a lot, obviously with Ms. Hunter and her work with the college and career life readiness, she's really put a lot into that about marketing. We also have a technology class with the Technology Student Association. Also in 7th and 8th grade, students begin to look at their academic and career plan. That is what they're thinking about, in high school and then also after high school. So it's a big step, and that academic and career plan will also follow into the high school. Lot going on at SCW, and at the high school, there's door decoration contests with the CT programs, professional dress day, we're doing a battle of the careers, and then IMCTE day. We look at what your career is and be proud of that career. Marketing education is doing a marketing event with Johnston's to promote kindness in the school. The school is a place where students and faculty want to be. Technology and engineering education, we're doing multimedia projects. The students are enrolled in the Sketchup Fundamentals certification. We're really working on certifications and giving our students those different levels of certifications. And Carpentry 2, they're building a shed and a right skiff with the Delta Marine Museum, Maritime Museum. And they're getting OSHA certifications. They're working on cornhole boards in trade and industrial education, which is building trades. And they're just really focusing on more experiences within the community. And I reach out to the community because any community business, we are looking for businesses to partner with so we can get our students to be having those work-based learning experiences, internships, and things like that. Again, we're working on certifications, Microsoft Office Specialist, carpentry level with the NCCER, OSHA, the WISE, which is that WISE test is the educational or the economics and personal finance. We have very robust student organizations like DECA, FBLA, Skills USA, and the Technology Student Association. Our program is strong, and we are continuing to work to make it stronger for our career and technology education. So that is the report for this month as we celebrate CTE.
Thank you. All right, next we have is budget discussions.
Budget discussion, so I do have a presentation, and I'm gonna ask for that clicker to be passed down to me. You all have this in your packet.
It does look like you might need reading glasses if you are a person that wears them, like me. So-
And me.
I actually printed one of them on a bigger.
Oh, is there a larger, is there a larger
there are
version?
large pages of the two slides, 9 and 10.
Oh, yeah.
So that you could see them. I know the print is kind of small.
All right, so this is that time of year when I give you the first presentation of the budget. And so, just as we always do, our decisions, including the budget, are based on our mission and vision of engaging, inspiring, and empowering our students, which is also based on, so I'm looking at that one, but that one's, okay. Now they're in sync. All right. So that's also based on our 4 key priorities or strategic objectives of our strategic plan, which again are the driving force behind what we do and how we do it. Behind me too. I just might have to turn around a little bit and look at, see which slide we're on behind me. All right, and so just as a review for everyone, budget is an estimate of revenues and expenditures for a set period of time, and it's based on sound information. And within this presentation, I'll walk you through what the revenue is expected for FY26, and then what our forecasted expenses are, particularly those that will influence a change in the budget for 26. The appropriating body is the Board of Supervisors, because we do not have the ability to generate our own funds or our own taxes. And then you all are considered the governing body, which is the school board, and that's how you all make the decisions on how the funds are delegated and how the funds are spent. And so the funding comes from 4 sources. First of all, I will speak about the state funding. It's based on an enrollment, first of all. And for this current year, our budget is based on an ADM, or an average daily membership, of 1,160 students. Next year, we'll bump that number up to 1,170, so 10 more students. It should be noted that that does not include any of our pre-K or alternative day placement students, all of which we're still responsible for, but basic aid is only based on the K-12 population. What also factors in there is the LCI, or the composite index. It remains at 0.6389 for the next fiscal year. And what that means from the state is that Middlesex County has the ability to fund approximately 64% of SOQ funded programs, plus 100% of everything else. It's also run through the LCI when that funding is put in place. The LCI is re-benchmarked every 2 years, and so November of this year, we will get that new figure that goes into effect for the following year for FY27. Federal funding is made up of IDEA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Act, and then a variety of title programs, Title I being the largest. Middlesex Elementary is a Title I school. And then also vocational funds, which we refer to as Perkins funds, which goes towards our CTE programs. Other funding is the smallest bucket. It's made up of tuition from non-resident students, it's rebates, it's refunds, it's donations, it's grants, it's E-rate. E-rate supports our broadband services. And then lastly, the local operation funding, and that's what's supported from our locality, and it's where the locality is responsible, in our case, for picking up 64% of the budget, because that's what the state indicates that the county is able to pay to support educational funds. This graph shows what percentage each of those funding sources represents. So you'll see that at the state level, that's about 33% of our funds. It's our SOQ accounts, it's incentive programs, categorical programs, lottery-funded programs, because even at the state level, it's broken up into a variety of categories. Federal, you'll see, is a small amount, only 4%. Again, that's all of our titles, IDEA, and our Perkins funds. Other is a whole lot smaller, with only 0.4%. I went over what those rates are. This is the one that, this category has some rates that are fixed
Each year, we know exactly what the E-rate is going to be, but the other items fluctuate, like refunds and grants and donations and things like that. And then you'll see that the largest portion is the county transfer for the FY '26 budget. That makes up 62.3%, and that covers operations, debt service, CIP, and textbook funds coming from the county. So in this next slide, or this chart, it shows the change in funding from FY '25 to FY '26. These numbers are based on an ADM of 1170, which is what we're projecting for next year. For FY '26, at the state level, there's been an increase in both sales tax and the compensation supplement, although some other areas within those programs did decrease some. I should add that the state compensation supplement has been new over the past few years. It has been very rare in the past for any compensation increases to be covered in a state budget. That was always been left up to the locality, but in the past few years, we have seen that in there. And so overall, we're looking at a state increase of just over $213,000. Federally, you'll see is down slightly at almost $5,000. I said that's the area where we have some fixed revenue that comes in and some that's less predictable. We do know that there's a decrease in there because we are no longer receiving the SREC payments from SunTribe. SREC is the Solar Renewable Energy Credits. And that SunTribe, that was an agreement for SunTribe to pay the school division for 5 years. And we've at the end of that 5-year period, that was in that other category, and that's why you see a reduction there. I will say that this is based on the current governor's budget. The Senate and House have both approved their own versions, and they're working together to come up with one version for the General Assembly. We have some idea of we have an idea of what they're proposing. The state has not provided calculation tools for those two, for both the House and the Senate this year, and they've done that in the past, but Karen has worked her magic and gone through to see what that would look like. If everything that they approve and ask for comes through, potentially we are looking at an additional $200,000 that would come from the General Assembly. But again, that is if they come together and agree on the same things, and then if all of those things are approved once we get to a final budget. And so for budget considerations, these are the areas that we typically see some movement, fluctuation, increases, and decreases. Operations is the only department that we're seeing an increase, and that is when you're considering a $23 million budget, a $36,000 increase is not large by any means, and that is all due to contract increases and increases in utilities, which go up each year. Health insurance is in here because there's always some fluctuation usually during the year. I'd shared in past meetings that we were still waiting on rates because it was out to bid. That's not been finalized yet. The bidding process has not, but all of our quarterly reviews leading up to this point have not shown any increase in health insurance, and so we based a budget on no health insurance increases going into FY '26. Positions. This budget includes the proposal of 4 additional positions, and I'll go into some detail of what they are and what the need is there. The first is an additional speech-language pathologist. We currently have 2 full-time SLPs, and we contract for a part-time. These positions have a cap on how many students a speech-language pathologist should case manage, and then when I say case manage, it's not a manage of managing, they're seeing these students in small group services. So with only the part-time third person in there, we are seeing case management that's over what the required legal limit is. And so this proposal includes another full-time position. If we contracted out this position, it would be at least $20,000 more to have it as a purchase service or a contract. So we're looking to move that position in-house, another full-time position, and eliminate the part-time contracted service that we have now. Next position is early childhood special education paraprofessional, and this is a preschool program or classroom that meets the needs of students with disabilities. Again, we were required this year to open an additional special education classroom, preschool classroom, and that was due to the numbers of students. Again, there's compliance issues on numbers of students that can be case managed and served there, and we were over that limit, and so we opened an additional classroom. You're required to have 2 adults in that classroom, and so we need to add that preschool paraprofessional position to next year's budget. Another one, which is also related to special education, is a special education coordinator. This would be a division-wide position, and this is due to increased identification of students with disabilities and especially students that need behavioral support needs. There's additional reporting, there's additional meeting requirements. It requires an additional time of both school-level administration and division-level administration to oversee the actually day-to-day operations and services that students are getting, and we are seeing a gap for support in those classrooms. When we have special education teachers who are new to the field, we recognize that they need additional support for classroom instruction, and so this person would help with that, help coordinating training, help with writing and implementing IEPs. We're seeing an increased need for local testing. The students go through a large amount of testing before they become eligible, and this position would be designed to relieve some of that strain and provide a direct support to teachers, which is another effort to assist us in retention of teachers. And then lastly, this budget includes an additional mathematics coach, and that would be for grades K2. We were able to hire with ESSER, and that was money that came during the COVID pandemic. ESSER grant funding, we hired a 3-5 mathematics coach as we transitioned out of the pandemic. We are seeing success with that, and it was student assessment data and support that needed the position. We were able to show the success of it, and we did successfully build that into our current budget. I would note that VB, or Ms. Van Buskirk, was nominated and acknowledged this night for Navigator of the Ward, and she is our 3-5 mathematics coach. And I'm sure she could tell you that she's all over the building nonstop from the time she gets in to the time she gets out, working with students and with teachers, but the time only allows her to be in 3-5 classrooms. And so when we looked at the data that was presented to us for K2 students, and current testing shows a weakness specifically in number and number sense, and so we're looking at foundational mathematics skills that are necessary to the future mathematics operations. And specifically, we've identified about 70 students who are in need of early and intense specific intervention to strengthen those needs in those early on grade levels before they do move into the testing years. It's the position that is proposed is the exact same as what we have in 3-5. It's a push-in model where the interventionist goes into classrooms working with both teachers and with students, and has a strong mathematics background to help with that, both the planning and the teaching there. We have new Virginia standards in mathematics and reading, and so the Virginia Literacy Act, even though we were ahead of the game and what that has required, we were able to build some of those both positions and supports for reading. We're seeing that we need that also for mathematics to help close that gap and certainly help it from getting any larger. So those are positions that are proposed and are included in this budget. Compensation I'm going to get to in the next few slides. And so I recognize that this is difficult to see. What I would point out is the yellow boxes. Yellow indicates the divisions that have the lowest salaries for that step. This chart shows a 0 through 30 steps. Middlesex County starts all the way on the left, and you'll see that the first 2 boxes are yellow, meaning our steps 0 and step 1 are the lowest salary, and that this is the 10 divisions that are around us in our region and of comparable size. The next slide shows a ranking. How do we compare? So we start off at the very bottom, 10 out of 10, on step 0 and on step 1. We start to come up just a little bit, and then we drop back off, but we never actually make it to the middle of the pack. So with everyone around us giving at least a 3% increase going into the next year, we will continue to drop down below in ranking from steps 3 on through step 30. Last year, when I shared this slide with you, I shared that we ranked 6 out of 9 at the very beginning. And then we moved up to 4th in ranking, and then we dropped back some to 5th and then back down to 9th. This year, because of the compensation increases that those gave around us, we start off at the bottom. And as I said, if we're only given a 3% increase for next year, we will stay at the bottom. 20% of our instructional staff retire, resign, or leave for the private sector every year, and that's what we're trying to rehire. Next year, if we only give a 3% compensation increase, we will be the only division of these 10 with a starting salary below $50,000. When we factor in minimum raises that the other divisions are giving. Teachers are required to have a bachelor's degree and a teaching endorsement from the Virginia Department of Education, and I will add that Virginia has the highest standards and requirements for licensure of any of the states in the U.S. And this is the category that we struggle the most to both hire and retain staff. I'm sure that you're all aware that teachers put their own money into their classrooms. Some work additional jobs on weekends and in summers, and then some still can't afford family health insurance that covers their own children. And so because of that, this FY26 budget does include a 7% increase for teachers and a 4% increase for all other staff members. So this slide shows how we are categorically funded. And so there's 2 ways that school divisions are funded. It's categorically or it's lump sum. And this is a choice of the Board of Supervisors, is that we are categorically funded instead of just one lump sum of money coming to us and we're able to move through these different categories. You'll see that instruction is the bulk of that budget, which is required. Just covering some of them that are not maybe self-explanatory. Administration, health, and attendance, that's made up of central office staff, school board members, nurses, our division social worker, division psychologists, our speech language pathologists, so all of those that are considered working at the division level and not in an instructional role. I think the others are pretty straightforward on what those categories are. And so when we look at and break up what the expenditures are, how they're broken up by type, you will see that the bulk of the expense is salary and benefits, which makes up about 76% of our budget. Things that fall into the other charges are utilities, insurance, leases, rentals, travels, dues, membership, those types of things. We do pay tuition for some programs, and that's the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School, the Bridging Communities Regional Career and Technical Center. We have students that go to RCC for welding program. We partner with King and Queen County for our JROTC students. We do pay per student for those students to attend that, and then the Regional Special Education Program. Debt service is made up for us right now, our energy savings contract, the elementary school, and the renovation in addition to the high school, and then the new HVAC units we put on the elementary school just a few years ago. And so per the last slide, when salary and benefits is our largest expense, 80% of that goes to instructional staff. And again, I think transportation and maintenance is straightforward, and technology, and then I shared with you what administration and health was and what portion that makes up. And so for capital improvements for this year, in October, we do a 5-year forecast of capital improvements, and that's what's submitted to the Board of Supervisors. You'll see that a school bus replacement is on there. We plan to replace a school bus each year. They kind of rotate out of the years that's recommended for their service. In addition to that, we have rooftop units at Middlesex High School. These are 2 package units, and they serve the cafeteria and kitchen area. and are in need of replacement. They have a manufacture date of 2002, and they have exceeded their life expectancy. They are prone to breakdowns, we have frequent service calls on them, and their replacement will result in more reliable and cost-efficient option in the long run. And then the third piece is a standby generator for St. Cloud Walker. The current generator, it needs to be replaced, is the bottom line. It is original to the school. The school opened in 1994. The parts for it, for maintenance, have become obsolete. And so whenever anything has to be replaced, there's a whole retrofitting that has to go on there, resulting, it's inflated costs that we're paying, which honestly is not worth it to put back into the generator. I will say that there's potential, and I believe that Dustin is working with David Lehman with the county for a grant opportunity that would pay for the bulk of that generator, which would leave a smaller amount for the county to pay for. We were able to do that last year at the elementary school, and I believe we're still moving forward with that. And so our revenue summary, just an overview as I shared. State funds, we're seeing some increase, or about a $200,000 increase. Federal's down slightly, other is down a little bit. The increased local support needed in operation, you'll see that in the orange area, or the orange lines, and that's an additional request of just over 979,000, which is just under 8% addition. Debt service is down slightly, so you'll see that also. But these are not final numbers. I shared before that this is based on the governor's proposed budget, and we're waiting to see what's finalized through the General Assembly and if that gets approved. So this budget is based on an enrollment of 1170, compensation increases of 7% for teachers and 4% for other staff. It includes the addition of 4 new positions and then any other increases that are related to inflation. Again, the House and Senate have given their proposals. We know what potentially that could be if it all goes through. We've discussed earlier that we have a work session with the Board of Supervisors tomorrow. And then this budget comes back to you all at the next school board meeting on March 10th for approval, and it does have to be submitted to the Board of Supervisors by April 1. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I have one question. Back to the speech language instructor.
Yes.
You mentioned a ratio, I think, of 60 students to 1 instructor. Where does that ratio come from?
That's from the state.
The state?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one question on the health benefits. When are we gonna get a more finalized number?
That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah, we continue to keep in touch with our broker, and he keeps us updated. But I don't think he's given us an answer. He knows that we are heavy into budget planning season, just as are the other divisions that he works with. He also works with several counties in the state also, so as soon as he has that, but that's a great question, because if there is a change that we were not expecting, then that's gotta be built in here. Also, and that did happen to us last year.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it was a lower rate, and it did come back much higher. We were fortunate that the Board of Supervisors supported us in building that into our budget last year so that we did not pass on any increases. But as soon as we do know something, we'll be able to share that and adjust budget if necessary.
And a great part of our increase is based on mandates, which we are not legal right now as far as student-teacher ratio.
A couple of the positions, yes. Mm-hmm. 2 of the positions are based on that.
Any more questions? All right, next we have superintendent's report.
Yep, just a few more updates. You can see that the bulk of the work has been on budget almost every day, but other things are going on. I will note that, as you're aware, probably we have been experiencing illness across all of our schools.
Yes.
just like every other school in the United States of America. So it is not, we are clearly not immune to it. We do track attendance and see, you know, if our trends are way out of line. Yes, we've taken a dip, but not anything that's any worse than what we've looked at in the past 3 years. I think we were just looking at those trends. And so as long as we have the staff to stay open, we stay open. We are cleaning. We do encourage students to stay home if they are actively experiencing symptoms. You know, the hard part is balancing that with the state being on us for chronic absenteeism. We want students to be in school. We don't want them to be in school if they have active symptoms, or if they've had a fever within the past 24 hours, but we are tracking it. And so on a more positive and pleasant note, I think we noted that this week is Kindness Week. And so there've been lots of activities going on at the elementary school. They've been making happy bookmarks, hiding them in library books for someone else to find as a nice little treat. They've made kindness paper chains, making lists of things that they are grateful for. At the middle school, they're supporting the LEAP students in the Cupid project, so they've been writing cards, and this has been going on all over the division, writing cards that are being delivered to local nursing homes. And then the Building a Better Community Club will be distributing bracelets to students and staff with a message that has soar away from racism. So they're building in kindness and Black History Month and building those things together to support our students. And at the high school, the Key Club has been creating bulletin boards about kindness, and that's outside the counseling office, an appropriate place, and giving members an opportunity to earn service time for performing acts of kindness and making appreciation gifts for the high school support staff and for bus drivers. So lots of things going on across the division in recognition of Kindness Week.
I can also report that the Key Club delivered handmade valentines to each Kiwanian at our last meeting.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Very
Keepers,
nice.
I think. You know.
Very nice.
Is that it?
That is it for me.
Okay. Do we have any old business? Any new business? Okay, we'll now get ready to go into close. Pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board will go into closed session to discuss personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters. May I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now in closed session. Can I have a motion to go to close?
So moved. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. All right. In pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board discussed personnel matters, student matters, legal matters during closed sessions. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda. Excuse me. As action items and information items. Members of the board, please certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session. Board members will respond by roll call.
Dr. Burnett,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mrs. McMurtry,
Yes.
and Mr. Reed.
Yes. All right, consent agenda. Okay,
We need a motion.
need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Proper second, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion is so carried. And I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now adjourned.